Good evening, engineers. Can you hear me? Can one of you speak and tell me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you well.
Right. I'm starting by 5:15. There is a login because I have been given only 2 hours. In order to complete within these 2 hours, I'm going to start the session by 5:15. Actually, now this is a very vast subject. Within 2 hours, I can explain you the salient features of that one. That is the objective of the IESL. But I have given more details in my slides. So therefore, you can download the recording, and if you can go through my slides, you can get, because I have included more details in my slide. Generally, when I'm making a slide presentation, I include only the keywords. But here, more than to the keyword, I have included some more details. So with that, the small explanation, let me start the session. Now your topic is social leadership, empathy, then social responsibility as engineers to develop a better country, social impact of engineering matters, gender issues, equal opportunities, right? It's a very vast subject, but I think you have some sort of knowledge about that one. I am focusing you to a certain direction. On that direction, you can review the things and you can memorize your experience, and you will be able to answer the questions at the your 19th December paper, right? The social leadership and empathy. Now, what is the difference between leadership and social leadership? So this is a tricky question. Some engineers, those who have followed business management courses or workshops, would have learned the leadership styles, right? Autocratic leadership, democratic leadership style, then transformational leadership style, transactional leadership style. There are a lot of leadership styles. So out of that, what is social leadership? Now, the social leadership is something that, in very generally, now for example, I think all of you are graduate engineers. When you enter a state sector university, first year, you all are learning common engineering, right? From the second year onwards, you have to follow a specific courses. So that means civil engineers are following civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical, like that. Now, before you start the specialized areas, first year, you will have to learn the common things. So social leadership is also the common part of the leadership. Because if you want to become a leader, right, leadership is the specific style. That's the autocratic leadership, democratic leadership. Those are different types of leadership. But before you become an expert on leadership, you must know the general things. Now, for example, if you are going to compete for a swimming event, first of all, you should know how to swim, right? Once you know the swimming, then you can master whether it's a butterfly style, the freestyle, backstroke. There are so many styles. Like that, the social leadership is generally, as engineers, you'll have to develop social leadership first. Thereafter, you can specialize the other leadership styles. I think this will be sufficient to understand the difference between the specific leadership styles and social leadership. So what are the qualities and characteristics of a great leader? Can anyone be a good leader? So those are the specific questions I would like to raise at the beginning of this lecture. At the end of this lecture, you will find out the answers for this. So Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker is one of the management scholars. He has written a lot of books and he has developed a lot of management concepts. So the Peter Drucker has given a very simplified definition for the leader. The only definition of a leader is someone who has followers. If someone has followers, the person can be a leader. This is a very simplest definition. Beyond that, the Bill Gates, I do not want to tell you who is Bill Gates. Bill Gates says, as we work, as we look ahead into the next century, it's a long-term plan, leaders will be those who empower others. So that means if your bosses empower you with leadership qualities, some or other day, you will become leaders. So once you become leaders, you will have to empower your subordinates. This is like a relative, right? Once you complete your lap, you have to give the baton to the next person. So that is how the Bill Gates look at the leadership. And also Bill Gates says, leadership is a process of social influence, right? Influence, not typical influence, it is social influence, which maximizes the effort of others towards the achievement of a greater good, right? Because you can lead your team to achieve not the great goods, right? For example, the underworld leaders are also leaders. They are very clever, right? Their achievement is not for a great good. So the social leadership and empathy, leadership is an art. Why you can't say it's a science? Because the science, there are specific rules and regulations. Art, you have no such boundaries. Leadership is an art. That means there are no specific boundaries, right? You have a very broader boundary. That's why it's called an art, which means there is no right way to do it. This is what I told you. Leadership is an attitude, because attitudes are developed in your heart, and intuition, that's the talent built over time. So that means the leadership, if you are going to be a leader, right, you can't, you have to develop your attitudes, right? And then you have to build your talents. So the talent is initially, once you start your field, right, you can, you have the ability. Once you complete your first degree as engineers, you have the ability to work as engineers. So then, once you, while you are experiencing on engineering, after that you can become skilled engineers. Now, skilled engineers are practicing as skilled engineers, they will become experts. Now, this is the path of the talent, right? So the leadership is starting with the attitudes, you can become expert. Now, the expert means you have to have your own leadership style, right? Now, another one definition given, David Eisenhower. David Eisenhower is 34th US president. Because this David Eisenhower has developed, has published so many management concepts. Those have been followed by the management scholars, right? Not like the politicians in our country, right? The US president, David Eisenhower, he says the leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something. So that means if you are a leader, you want to get something done by means of the others, right? But you want to get it done from the others, and also they also want to do it. It's very simple. If you have a team, the team members have a common goal, right? If you are the team leader, you also want to achieve the goal. Team members also achieve the goal. So your role is getting the goal achieved by the others. So that's very simple. When you and someone else are working together, there is a goal at the end to be achieved. So, and finally, John Maxwell said, leadership is influence, right? If you are a good leader, you must be influential person to direct your team members to achieve the common goal. So if you learn some more about that one, getting people to do things does not come from authority or power, right? Sometimes you will be appointed as a senior person, as an engineer. But being appointing as an engineer, right, you can't get the work done through the people. Right? That is the difference between the leaders and non-leaders. Non-leaders might think, I have my positional power, right? If I use my positional power, if I use my positional authority, others will have to follow, right? That is completely wrong. Those are non-leaders. If you are a leader, you must know how to get the work done. Now, even the autocratic leadership style, which is commonly practiced in military forces, right? If the commander instruct orders, right, to the soldiers without asking even a single question, the soldiers do that, right? But before that, the commander has built the confidence with the soldiers, right? That's why the soldiers will follow the leader, right? In any leadership style, it does not come from the authority or positional power, right? And to succeed as a leader, inspiring commitment, right? Inspiring commitment means you have to recognize others' achievement, right? Now, most of our the leaders, they do the work with the subordinates. Ultimately, he shows that he himself did that, right? They never recognize the achievement of others, right? But you should have an inspiring commitment with your team. Always, you have to recognize the others' achievement as indeed. And the hand-to-hand concept which goes with the leadership is motivation, right? Unless your team is motivated, you can never reach the goal, right? Without motivation, there is no leadership. Please keep remember. And the other thing is, you can't motivate the person. Most of the engineers I have seen in their A paper or B paper, they have written, right? By providing overtime, I was able to motivate the others, right? Because motivation is something which is created in the mindset of the people, or it's a cognitive process, right? Then if I say by giving overtime, I motivated the person, I must be able to read the other person's mind. Still, there is no tool or medical equipment has been developed to read the minds of the others. In a situation like that, our engineer says, I was able to motivate my employees. Don't write, I motivated the employees. But you can say, for the purpose of motivation, I provided these facilities. I provided the meals, I provided home transport, I provided additional payments, incentives, bonus, rewards for the purpose of motivation. But the degree of motivation which is created in the mindset of the others, you do not know, right? So therefore, please avoid writing, I motivated others, right? And leading employees. So that means delegate effectively. Some engineers, right, they ask subordinates to do that one, and the subordinates will do it very efficiently. But finally, they have efficiently done not the one which you expected. So efficiency is not the way. First of all, you will have to explain, you will have to direct the people to do the correct thing, right? Do the right thing, and then do it right way, right? Doing things right way is the efficiency, right? But you can do a wrong thing also in the right way, right? That's why some people, right, kill the others, right? But after that, the police or the other detectives will not be able to find the murderer, right? Because they have done it very efficiently, but it is not an effective thing. So act with fairness, right? You should not have favorites, right? When you are working as a leader, all the others, you have to show your fairness with it. And strategic planning is the long-term planning. So if you have a vision, you have to translate your vision into mission, the mission into the objectives into the actions. This is the step-by-step of strategic planning. Because you have a vision, from the vision you have to build the mission. From the mission you have to set your goal. Right? Goal is long-term goals. Then you can divide into objectives. That means this is what it is called to translate the vision into reality. Right? Vision is not a real thing, right? It's an ideal situation, right? But we'll have to translate into the reality by going step down. Then plan for the long term, right? You have to plan for the long term, and then you have to set the objectives, short-term objectives. While integrating all these short-term objectives, you can achieve the long-term plan. And some more, change management. The change management is the environment is so dynamic, right? Situation today is not the tomorrow. Who thought that the COVID will come and make such a big impact, not only to the Sri Lanka, but also to the other countries. Right? So you have to change the management. So facilitate organization adaptation, because you have to adapt to the situation. A good example is, I think you all have heard about the Kodak films, right? The Kodak was the leading market leader for the films, right? You know that before year 2000, we had the cameras. You have to fix the film roll. Using a film roll, you have to get the pictures, then you have to give it to the laboratory, then you have to process it and get. Nowadays, you have the digital cameras. But the Kodak, they won the world market using these Kodak films. Kodak films for the mainly for the cameras, then for the X-rays and other things. And the first digital camera was invented by the worker of the Kodak. The first digital camera was invented by a worker in the Kodak, but they did not change their management for the next generation. But from the beginning of this millennium, all the cameras went for the digital camera. So then the film roll market was eliminated from the marketplace. So the Kodak became the most bankrupted firm in the world during this millennium, right? You know that the Kodak, the city which was the Kodak was located in a city in USA was called Kodak City, right? Like our Celltel, because in early 90s, people used to call cellular phone the Celltel, because the Celltel company was first introduced the cellular phone. But today, there is no Celltel company, because they did not change their management for the dynamic change of the environment, right? Please keep remember, as a successful leader, you must forecast the future and make changes to adapt to the situation. So employee development, right? Now, most of the leaders, they will get the work done from the subordinates, and ultimately they forget it and ask for the promotion from the boss, right? So therefore, always as leaders, you must think that your subordinates development, coach to improve the performance, provide guidance and encouragement to improve their performance. When you improve their performance, they will be promoted and you will ultimately be promoted. That is the employee development as a good leader. Then the self-awareness. This is the final one. The self-awareness means you must recognize personal limits and you have to learn from doing mistakes. Because no one in the world who has not done any mistake. So therefore, always try to learn by doing mistakes, right? And just recognize your personal limits, your capacity. And so what makes a great leader, right? The essential leadership style, skills, the communication, right? You must communicate with the others, right? You must motivate. I explained you what is motivation. You can't motivate a person. You can provide your facilities to motivate the person. Then the positivity. Positivity means, for example, if one of your subordinate does a mistake, right? Don't jump on him. Think about if this person has been regularly doing mistakes. If not, please think about how good he has done until that person does that mistake. Right? First, please appreciate his work previously done. Then you can ask, what made you to do this mistake? So then he will trust you, and he will never does this. He will never do this mistake again and again. That is the positivity. The good example is if you have a glass which is halfway filled with water and halfway empty, right? You can talk about but at the same time, you can talk about the filled part. You can say, even the glass is not fully empty. At least the 50% is filled with water. Then you can talk about the positive part. So that is the positivity as the leader. Creativity. Because always you must encourage your subordinates to go for the creative things. Because most of the leaders, right, non-leaders don't like for the creativity. They say the creativity will make a lot of problems. Right? So there are leaders, problem avoiders. They don't like to undertake the problems as challenges. Any problem is a challenge for a leader, right? Non-leader, it's a problem, right? And the feedback. Always you must be able to get the feedback from your subordinates. These are good leadership skills, because now these are the skills you have to develop to social leader. Social leader stroke of swimming, you must learn how to swim, right? These are the qualities to become a generally social leader. Then social leadership and empathy. Now, being a social and ethical leader requires certain capabilities. Now, I have compiled these capabilities in a the schematic the way. It is called the social leadership capabilities framework, right? It outlines the attributes to be developed by leaders, the behavior, right? How do you behave in front of your team, and what are the skills? Right? These are the 3 capabilities or abilities you have to develop during your career. So all these the attributes, behaviors, and skills have put into a certain framework, which is called the social leadership capabilities framework. Right? Let me show that one. This is the social leadership capabilities framework. You can start from empowering enabler, inspirational communicator, good leader. Good leader should encourage change maker, and generous collaborator, passionate advocate, and focused strategist. These are the 4 attributes, behaviors, and skills. Let me explain. Now, you need not to keep all these things in your mind, but just read this one and see what is the content of that one. That should be the most important one. Of the social, the empowering enabler. The first empowering enabler, because as Bill Gates said, unless you empower your team, right? Now, once you complete your lap, there is no other person to take over the baton. So therefore, empowers others to take on new challenges and training. And don't empower to do the same thing what you did. Always empower to take new challenges, because that's the situation tomorrow. So therefore, train them to undertake the new challenges. And role model. Role model means you must be an example to your subordinates, right? You must show that one. Some leaders are there. They are the bywords. They are leaders, but when practice, they are not leaders. They always talk, right? But they can't work. The role model to others, you must be an example for the others. Pursue continuous self-development. That means you must examine the self-development of your subordinates and follow it up. If there is a self-development, please encourage them to go that route and cultivate an environment where others can excel. Right? So some leaders I have seen, most of the engineers, they will ask subordinates, please do this. Right? Now you need not to tell them, please do that. Right? If you write a small paper and pass it among this, that's enough. Right? But you must cultivate an good environment. Right? You can explain them. Now these are the challenges, right? We can expect, right? This is how you have to overcome that. But you must use your talents to achieve this. And next thing, the growth mindset with the readiness to learn. Because if you show that you are ready to learn, then the followers also are ready to learn. But if you say that you know everything, others also will say, we also know everything. Right? So therefore, exhibit a growth mindset as leaders and inspire relational communicator. Right? That relates to others with authenticity. What is the authenticity? When you are communicating with the others, right? Now some engineers I have seen, actually, don't think that I am blaming to the engineers, right? Because if I say use the word engineer, then that will go to your heart, right? Some engineers I have seen, can you go there and bring something, right? He never says where to go, right? And bring what is to be brought. He never says, because they are giving qualitative orders, right? Can you do it fast, right? Can you improve the quality, right? So those are qualitative commands, but you must give quantitative commands, right? That is what is actually to be done, what is exactly to be done. Then only the followers will develop trustworthy about you. Otherwise, they will not trust you. You know, this our boss always asks us to do the better way, good way, right? Improve. All these terms have no value, right? Something better is not better to me. Something good is bad to somebody else, right? Most of the engineers, when they are writing the B paper and A paper, I have seen by improving the quality, by improving the quality, you can get good results, right? Those are guidelines, right? You have to explain how to improve the quality and what are the results, what is the data, and from this data, what is the achievement, and influential and confident, right? You must be influenced the person. So therefore, you should know the work, how to do the work first, right? In one good example, because I am a chartered civil engineer, most of the engineers, right, they are not aware about the test to be carried out at the field test, right? Now, for example, the Proctor compaction test, there are triaxial set, there are so many tests to be carried out with the soil, but they do not know. But the soil testers are very skilled because they have been doing the same thing again and again. Right? So therefore, most of the engineers are depending on the others. Right? Please, right? Please learn how to do that one. You must play a role model, right? You must be capable enough to show how to do that one to the others. And clear expression of mission and values. When you're explaining something, it should be very clear. What is the objective? This is the task, right? And agile and able to modify approaches and reframe based on the feedback. Sometimes, if you follow the previous thing, right, you may not get good results, right? Evaluate that and change the approach, modify the approach, and reframe the based on the feedback, because feedback is always very important. That is to learn lessons. And courageous change maker is always think everything is changing, and courageous and drives change. Always, when you are working with your subordinate, show that there is no static way to do that. Right? We have to undertake challenges, and the way have to be modified. So then you can encourage your subordinates to think innovatively and responsible risk taker. If there is a risk, right, you must be a risk taker. Don't take the risk, right? By taking a risk, if your team members, right, will injure or if they die, don't take that type of risk, right? But there are certain risks. Sometimes you may have to spend more money in the short run, but in the long run, you may get more benefits, right? Think about these things. Develop innovative solutions with and through others. You also think about the innovative solutions and encourage the innovative solutions through the others. And the generous collaborator. What is collaboration? Collaboration is when you are working with your team, right? If others say your name is Mr. Leader, right? Others says, that person is Mr. Leader's member, right? So that means everyone can identify this is Mr. Leader's team, this is Mr. X team, Mr. Y team, right? That is the collaborator. That means you have to show that my team is extraordinary team than the others, right? The collaboration is that you have to have your team members have to have a one voice, right? One way, unique way. But you have to develop the things timely and generously share information, assert and time. Build trust through seeking and giving feedback. Right? Your feedback, sometimes if you learn something, you share that one with your subordinates. Invite inclusive contribution, valuing skills, knowledge. Even a small thing is done by your team members, please appreciate that. Right? Now, one of the my manager asked me when I was working in the government sector, even you are writing a warning letter to a person, first you write good things he has done, right? Then after that, write that one. Even though you have done these type of good things, I don't. You have done a mistake, right? So then he will get a good impression by reading the first sentence, right? So then after that, he will realize my boss has given my instructions to rectify my mistake. Otherwise, if you started, right, you will be punished like that. So then it will be ended with conflicts, right? Now we heard very thorough story, right, about a couple of days back in Pakistan, right? I'm not telling our engineers wrong, right, or engineer, but before they make certain decision in their country, you must think twice. If the person did not understand what is written in the posters, before he remove that one, he must ask from the others, right? So that's why, please, I'm not going to the blame to the engineer. He's a very good engineer, respectable engineer, but please try to learn something from that one. And passionate, that means that there should be some passionate caused by strong feelings and belief, right? That's the unique way, right? So that means if your organization has a mission, if your organization has a vision, right? Now you have to act according to the mission and vision. And strong morale. Moral means the person's ability to judge what is right and what is wrong and act accordingly, right? Strong moral compass means compass, you know what is compass. If you lost your way, you can use a compass to find the north direction. That is compass. Now, strong moral compass means you have to have your personal judgment to find what is right. That means what is the correct direction. And wide civic responsibility, engage in debates and activities, right? When you are working with your team, please debate, right? criticize the thing. Let others to criticize that one, right? But at the end of the day, right, you can find good results. Look within and beyond sector to find solutions for the social change. So that means don't. Now this is something like the frogs in the well, right? You have to think about what is happening in the world, how our competitors are doing. Then you can learn. And the final part is the focus. Final one is the focus strategies. Strategies means the long-term thinker, long-term planner. The continuous seeks organizational improve for the people they serve. The long-term plan is now when you are achieving certain tasks, always think about what is the long-term goal of that one. By achieving short-term objectives, you must think what are the long-term goal I am going to achieve, right? So many engineers, they think they are very short-sighted. They think once I achieve this goal, my part is over. But think about if I achieve this goal, achieve this objective, how can I contribute to the long-term goal of my organization? Reflective and utilizes complex information, right? Some engineers don't like complex information. They like the very simple information. Those are the challenges. Delivers on outcome. What is that? Now, if you do something, you are getting the output. Immediate results is output, but that is no use, right? By getting that output, if you learn something and do it in better in future, that is the outcome. Always think about the outcome. If I do that one, I will get, this is my result. I'm confident to do that one. My team is confident. Then how can I improve, make use this as an input and do it in better way? That is these are the framework. Then I can go to the empathy. Right? Why this? The social leadership and empathy. There is no compatibility with these two terms. Why is that? There is a reason. I did not explain that one at the beginning. The empathy. Empathy is the ability to share someone else's feeling or experiences by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. Make a right. සිංහලෙන් කියනවා නම් අපි කියනවා අර ගුණා හැරෙනකොට අපි දන්නවා පොල් පැලේ එකක් කියලා. Right? When the bull is turning, we can imagine that the bull is going to eat the coconut plant. Right? Like that, you must have your ability while working as a social leader. You must be capable enough to understand the feelings of the others. Right? That is not telepathy. Right? But by working with the people, right, you must be capable enough to identify your team members' feeling in that particular situation. If I ask this person to do that, what would be the result? You must have that imaginary capacity. That is empathy, right? Reading, the understanding others' way. That is not telepathy, right? Empathy is that you feel, you get that feeling with your experience. That's why you have to develop the social leadership. As long as you have worked as a social leadership, you have improved your social capabilities while working with subordinates, some or other day, you can think about, now, if I ask this person to do that one, he's not in a good mind today, right? I think I must be ask him to do that one some other day. I can find some other person. Like that one, you must make a good judgment without asking any question from the others. So empathy is the ability to understand and be sensitive other person's feelings through thoughts and action. Sometimes you know that there are sometimes some engineers say, if I ask this operator to do that one, I know definitely, right? he will complete the work, but he will do something else or some illegal things as well. And there are people like that. So that is your empathy. Empathy is both a skill and trait. Right? Trait means attribute. Skill is you have to develop that one. And why empathy is important in the workplace? The empathy is important in the workplace unless you understand the way of your subordinate action, way they feel, way they think, right? You will be in a bad situation. You know that now the good example is right, in a cricket match, right? A former the captain Arjun Ramtunga, right? He was our time captain, right? Not your time. And he knows, right? Who is the bowler to be selected to this particular batsman, right? He knows who must be placed at this position, right? That is his empathy, right? He can quickly understand how for my place where you as the team leader should be rather than for the team as a whole. So the empathy is, you know that if you assign your task to the team, there is no doubt the team will achieve the task. But the most important thing is you should know the each and every person, the way of doing that one. Right? That is why the empathy is important. Sometimes you can see that in the soccer games or the rugby games, right? The coach will call some players, right? And send someone else, replace the person from someone else. That is his empathy. At the workplace where workers know they can rely on one another. Now, when you are doing that one, the workers also will understand each other's capability, right? If the leader does that one, the followers will understand. So at the end of the day, you can give your baton into the correct person. So this is what I want to say about the empathy. Empathy enables you to know if the people you are trying to reach are actually reached. Empathy allows you to predict the effect of your decision and action. Without empathy, you can't build a team or nature a new generation of leaders, right? The above facts reveals that how empathy is essential for a social leadership. I think the first part is over. I have taken nearly 56, 57 minutes to the first part. Let's go to the second part of the session. The social responsibility of engineers and social impact of engineering matters. Now, when I am going to explain that one with the latest management based on the latest management concept of the organization, right? Latest management concept. There are so many management concepts. I'm not going to talk about the past management concept. I'm going to talk about the latest management concept which are being practiced in the world, right? It's like this. This is the ladder. About 30, 40 years back, right? When we started our career, because I started my engineering career in 1981, right? Exactly 40 years back, right? So at that time, the corporate management was the latest concept, modern concept of corporate management. Before that, there was a concept called personal management. Now, from the personal management to corporate management was changed when we started our career. So then in our then our tail end career, with the beginning of the new millennium, it was changed to corporate social responsibility. Now I'm talking about the engineer's responsibility in the framework of corporate social responsibility. In the management style of corporate social responsibility, what would be the social responsibilities of engineers, right? I'm not talking about these two things, but let me explain how these three management concepts differs from each other. Then only you can talk about this. The corporate management, the bottom one, right? The corporate management. Why management team is required to run a business, right? It's like this. When a company is grown, right? Some companies started by a single person or a few people. When a company is grown, the founder or owners usually have management teams to oversee their businesses. If the company is grown and grown, the one person, single person can't do that one. Immediately he hire a accountant. Then he hire a sales manager. Then he hire a production manager, right? Then he hire a human resource manager. Like that one, the management team members include department head, CEO, right? Executive director, directors, vice president, manager, chief executive, CEO, chief operating officer, chief financial officer. All these are executives. Right? When the organization is grown and grown, right, we will need big team. Then the corporate management, the structure is owners and shareholders. They appoint board of directors, right? Board of directors appoint managers, right? Because board of directors are responsible to the owners, shareholders or investors. And the managers are the people, those who are running the job, that like you, right? Then you are getting the work done from the operational staff. That is the basic management concept of any organization. So then the shareholders appoint the directors and auditors. Board of directors are responsible to manage the company. Managers make decisions by utilizing resources. Operations start, achieve the task. That is the way. And manager's role. I'm talking about the manager's role because you engineers are the managers. Managers establish a long-term goal setting process for the business. Engineers are supposed to establish a long-term goals. And you have to establish the goal achieving process, goal setting process for the business. That is called planning. If you ask planning, what is planning? Some engineers say planning is planning. Planning is selasum karne. Okay? The meaning of the planning is if you have a goal to be achieved, what is the most appropriate or most feasible goal achieving process? That is planning. The organizing, once you plan, right, once you establish the goal achieving process, you will need resource, allocation of resources, financial resources, human resources, material resources, machinery resources. Then leading, right? You have a plan, you have a goal to be achieved, you know what is the process of achieving goal, you have your resources. If the resources are not available, you can outsource those things. Then you must have a leader, right? First, you must be a social leader. The directing human resources to achieve the set goal while motivating. Because I told you, the motivation is going hand to hand with the leadership of the process by taking corrective measures. That is the manager's role, engineer's role. Now, in this role, when I am talking this one, I am using two words. One is shareholder. I use the word shareholder. Now, hereafter, I have to use the word stakeholders. What is the difference between the stakeholders and shareholders? The stakeholder means any person who is directly or indirectly related to your business. Directly related to the business means the main directly related people are the suppliers and buyers, customers and the suppliers. Are the outsiders those who are directly related to the organization? Those are stakeholders, internal staff, stakeholders, right? And the shareholders also stakeholders, but shareholders are special kind of stakeholder because the shareholders have the company ownership, right? So please understand the difference between the shareholders and stakeholders. So that means shareholder is a subset of stakeholders. Or shareholder is a special category of stakeholder group. Any person directly or indirectly related to a business, either suppliers, buyers, special interested groups, right? All are stakeholders. But special kind of stakeholder is the shareholders, those who have the ownership. So in corporate management, ultimately what they do, owners and shareholders, they appoint board of directors appoint managers, managers are dealing with the suppliers, then the operation of staff, product and services, then the marketing. Doing what marketing means, you are dealing with the customers. Then the customers, when you are dealing with the customers, ultimately making profit. To whom you are making profit? To the shareholders. That means in corporate management, ultimate what we all are doing, you are satisfying shareholders. That is the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective of corporate management is business growth. Right? Making profit means business growth. Right? So what else than to the corporate management? Now you can think, yes, that is obvious. Right? The business is running, ultimately owners are earning. Right? That is the old concept. Right? Then the new concept, what is the new concept? Corporate governance. This is corporate management. Now the corporate management, business growth is the ultimate goal. Business corporate governance, what is the meaning of governance? Governance refers specifically to the set of rules, controls, policies, resolutions put in place to direct corporate behavior. Corporate means business behavior. Because in corporate management, they are not very much concerned about these procedures, rule, and all these things. They are always concentrating how to make profit. And there are so many businesses like that. Most of the contractors they want to ultimately make profits, right? So the governance is in addition to that one. There is a set of rules, accepted set of rules. So corporate governance as an independent academic discipline that has been experienced in the last 3 decades. Right? The corporate governance is the structure of the policies. There should be structured policies, structured rules, structured post-process, structured practices and controls used to direct and manage a company. So ultimately, objective of corporate governance is existence of the business while growing. The existence of the business while growing. That is the objective of the corporate governance. Objective of the corporate governance is the first you will have to focus on the existence of the business. Now the good example is Kodak, right? They did not think about the existence of the business with the digital camera. They always try to grow the business, right? So most of the business, if they don't think about their existence, there is no law. In very short term, the business will collapse, right? That is the corporate governance. And how can you, what is the role of engineers here? This is the management concept, right? So in business governance, corporate governance, the owners should, earlier in this concept, owners thought only about the profit. But in corporate governance, they will have to think about the corporate governance. So corporate management, they thought only about the themselves, shareholders' profit, right? But once it comes to corporate governance, instead of shareholders, they will have to think about the stakeholders, right? Because this one, they never thought about the others. If we are paying salary, right, we will have to earn profit. But in corporate governance, right, owners should think about the stakeholders. Stakeholders, who are the stakeholders? Suppliers, buyers, internal staff, any other interested parties, all of them, right? Why is that one? Right? If you do not satisfy the customers, right? They will go to some other supplier, right? On the other hand, if you don't treat your subordinates, right? If the owners don't treat the subordinates well, what will happen? They will stay there until they get experience, then they will go and go to some other competitor, right? So therefore, before make the profit, the owners must treat to the subordinates or the staff members and the suppliers. So that if you say the supplier, your material is too expensive, right? And if they start to bar the supplier, right? So like that, corporate governance means you must treat not to make the profit, but without profit you can run the business. While making profit, you mustn't treat subordinate your stakeholders, not the subordinate. Corporate management, these are the different. Corporate management is more about growing a business, right? Growing a business means profit. Corporate governance is primarily about protecting the business, because you must protect the business first. Then you have to think about the business. That short explanation, let's come to our key topic. Corporate sociability is a company to be socially accountable. To what? To itself. That means the owners and shareholders. That means corporate management to make profit. That is there. Then to its stakeholders. What is that? Corporate governance. Staff, suppliers, direct and indirect customers, interested parties. Right? When you think about these two, corporate governance. If they think only about the shareholders, corporate management. But apart from these two, the companies must be socially accountable to the environment as well, including the general public. Now, this is the corporate social responsibility. The corporate social responsibility has three key concerns. First is profit. Without profit, you can't run a business. Then the stakeholder. Third one is the environment, including general public. Why environment includes general public? Let me explain that. Right. Now I have come to the topic correctly. Elements of the environment. What are the elements of the? Ask you what are the elements of the environment? You take first resources over the Earth's surface. You know the Earth's surface over the Earth's surface. What are the resources? Fauna and flora, Sattusa Gaswell, human beings, Misu, surface water, earth, sand, all such things are over the surface. Those are the elements. Then below the Earth's surface, minerals, groundwater, crude oil, gems. Below the Earth's surface. Then above the Earth's surface, air and atmosphere. It's very simple. Right? These are the elements of the environment. What is over the Earth? What is below the Earth? What is above the Earth? What do you mean by the natural environment? The natural environment means if any of the above elements, if any of these above elements exist without undergoing man-made activities, it is an element of the natural environment. If any tree or animal or human being or surface water, earth, sand, rock exist without undergoing man-made activities, we can call natural environment. Otherwise, it has been impacted by the human activities. Right. Let's go. Then the corporate social responsibility. And there is another misconception. Right. Now, when I discuss with some engineers and the managers, they say, One engineer told me, now our company carried out a CRS activity, corporate social responsibility activity. You can carry out corporate social responsibility activity. It's very wrong concept. Most of the organizations carrying out a relief campaign or Ramadana campaign or tree plantation activity, they say it's a CSR activity. It is completely wrong. Why it is wrong? By literal meaning, CRS. What stands for CRS? Corporate social responsibility. Can you carry out a responsibility? Think about that or translate into Sinhala or in Tamil. Can you carry out a responsibility? You can't. Now, if there is a task, you have to achieve a task. If there are activities, you can carry out activities. If you have duties, you have to perform duties. When it is responsibility, you are holding or you are shouldering the responsibility. Your parents have been shouldering the responsibilities of yours until you start your career. Now you are holding the responsibilities of your children. Can you carry out the responsibility? Can you achieve the responsibility? Translate in your own language. So therefore, if someone says, I carried out a CRS activity, is wrong, right? You can't carry out responsibilities. So then you have to hold or shoulder corporate social responsibility. You have to bear the responsibility, right? You can't carry out that. Right? And please rectify that misconception. So members of the organization must carry out certain activities to meet the commitment while holding corporate social responsibility. Right? It is something like that. When your parents are shouldering your responsibility, right? They send you to the school to learn something, right? But going to school is not the responsibility. Studying is not the responsibility, right? Something like that. Right? Don't use that word. But it does not mean only by carrying out such activity, only by going home, sending children to the school, right? Can the parent shoulder the responsibility? You do not know what they are doing at the school, right? If you get any the drug dealer or any underworld person, they have gone to the school, right? But the parents have shouldering the responsibility to see what they are, how they are developing their behavior. They are committed to do that. So therefore, don't write, I carried out a corporate social responsibility activity. It's wrong. So the time is going very fast. So therefore, right. Let's come to that. The corporate social responsibilities management concept whereby companies integrate. Because we learned that one, corporate social responsibility. One is earning profit. Second one is treating to the stakeholders. Third one is treating to the environment. So based upon that, the corporate social responsibility is a management concept whereby companies integrate three things. What is the prime concern of growth? That is profit. This means corporate management, stakeholders, the people, by combining these two to corporate governance, combining all three corporate social responsibility. The third one is the environment. We call it the planet, right? When you are talking about the social corporate social responsibility, right? You have to think about these three things: profit, people, and planet. We call it the 3 Ps or triple bottom line. And sometimes you would have heard that, right? Some companies say this is how we are achieving 3 Ps or triple bottom line, right? This is an integrated process, right? You can't say by making profit, we can concentrate 1 P, right? These 3 Ps are set, right? You can separate that. So corporate social responsibility while holding CSR, you must integrate 3 Ps in a sustainable manner. This is the engineer's role, right? What is sustainability? Sustainability is while meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. This is by compromising. So sustainability is while meeting the needs of the present by compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Because now see your mother, right? When the mother, right, eats something, you always think, separate the portion for your father, then for you. Right? When the mothers are eating something, she first think, right, I must keep a portion to my husband. I must keep a portion to my children. The balance is eaten by the mother. The mother is teaching you very correctly the meaning of sustainability. So when you are meeting the needs of present, you must compromise the ability of future generations to meet their needs. If you consume what is left, what is available for the future generation will suffer. So that means while utilizing scarce resources without compromising the ability to future generation, that is unsustainability, right? So then, as engineers, the latest management concept is social corporate responsibility. There are 3 P's. This is an integrated process. As engineers, how you contribute these 3 P's in sustainable manner. That is what I want to tell you. Let's discuss something. When the organization has been shouldering corporate social responsibility, how engineers will? What is the social responsibility of engineers? Take one by one. Right? Take the first P, profit. Without the profit must be generated ethically. What is ethically? Ethics means society, right? So, what is the best way of doing ethical things? Avoid all unethical things, right? The best way of achieving doing ethical things means don't think about the ethical, think about the unethical things. Avoid unethical things, right? You must generate the profit in an ethical way. Don't overexploit the labor, right? Don't overexploit the resources, right? Take every possible measure on the sustainability of scarce resources, including human resources. Scarce resources, water, land, timber, earth, sand, minerals, air, fuel, coal, everything, right? So you must think about that one. The how to ethically generate the profit. Waste elimination is one of the ways. And then the second one is the profits must be generated by maintaining quality. If you buy a Chinese good, what is the quality? They are making profits and profit. But ultimately, you all are getting substandard quality goods. That is not, they are violating the first P always, this Chinese goods. Applying TQM. TQM means total quality management or quality assurance instead of testing quality at the end of the process, right? In the civil engineers, you have this experience, right? You test the concrete by taking samples, typical samples, you will take that one, and you are testing the samples after 7 days after the placing of the concrete, and then the 28 days, right? If the quality, if you meet the quality is substandard, are you going to break the concrete? No. Right? That means you have done quality testing. At the end of the process, you test the quality. To get the results also, it takes 1 week and 28 days, 4 weeks. So quality assurance is what? So assurance, the quality of material at the main source, right? For a concrete, if you are going to order the material, right? Don't depend on the supplier. If the supplier brings the material, if it is substandard quality, most of the engineers are rejecting that. So that means that supplier will find some other person. Before that, you have to go to the source itself and check the material. You ask from where you are getting metal. Go to the metal crusher and test check that one. That is the quality assurance at the material. Not even that one. If you are ordering certain material from overseas, you have to get the third party inspection report. Now, this is what has happened to the organic manure ship came from China, right? You know the story. They have not got the third party inspection report. The quality standards during the transportation, right? You can go to the place where it is manufactured, but quality is getting deteriorated during the transportation and loading and unloading. You have to establish the quality norms, right? How to load that one, how to transport, how to unload that one. If you are transporting cement, always, even there is a rainy day or not rainy day, you have to cover with a unloading that one. There are ways and means to unload and stack material. The quality standards of up to the warehouse, it is okay. Now, while using the material, what is the until the finished product comes, each and every stage. I think most of the mechanical engineers knows that one in assembly lines, right? In manufacturing, industrial, the systems within the assembly line, there are certain places the quality is checked. So once the quality is checked, not the quality is checked, the quality norms are established. Each and every critical stage, then you can check whether the quality is achieved. Stop the process. Don't wait until the process is completed. So each and every stage, from the unloading, warehouse, utilizing the material, the quality norms are achieved with the acceptable tolerances. Then you need not to check the ultimate quality. With each and every stage, you have established, you have ensured the quality. This is what is called the total quality management or quality assurance rather than quality testing. Now, when you are bringing in material for the concrete, please test the metal before you bring it. There are tests called the abbreviation test. You can test that one. Sand, do a sieve analysis, right? From the material source, right? And check, because I'm wrong, because there are so many non-civil engineers, right? So then, now when you establish quality norms, right? Quality is assured. But by learning lessons from each and every stage, you have to continue this process, right? Sometimes you may find there are certain places of your line, the quality was marginally achieved, then take remedial measures to improve that. Like that, the day by day, you have to improve the quality. So if you draw a graph, quality versus time, immediately quality will improve very rapidly because you are taking you are closing all the loopholes. Once you close all the loopholes, after that, quality is not getting improved. This curve goes parallel to the timeline. Now, this is the break-even point to start the BPR process. What is BPR? Business process re-engineering. What is business process re-engineering? You have to change the way you have improved the process by concrete mixture, right? If you do hand tampering, use a vibrator roller. Like that one, if you can achieve the quality standard, but while taking measures to improve the quality, there is a time you can't further improve. That is the signal for starter business process re-engineering. Business process re-engineering means you have to change the process with modified system to improve the quality. Now, these are the standards to be followed up by the engineers based on the corporate social responsibility management framework. Then take the people bottom line. Second one, take measures for the motivation of staff members. I discuss motivation. I'm not going to discuss again and again. Then the career development of the staff members. Treat suppliers and customers as partners of the organization. Right? Be a social leader first. Then develop empathy. Go for a win-win situation while negotiation. Develop interpersonal skills. Talk people in a polite manner. So those are how you are going to win the people. And also, there are large organizations in the worldwide organization, right? You know that now the Mars company, that is the world #1 chocolate manufacturer, right? #2 is the Cadbury. #1 is the Mars, right? In their cocoa farms, the confectionaries, in their cocoa farms in African countries, children of the cocoa pluckers were mostly the women, like our tea pluckers. Their children, right, don't go to the school because these women were so poor, right? They can't keep the children at home. There is no security. They bring the children to the cocoa farm. And from the childhood itself, they start helping the mother. And when they grown up, they take over from the mother. Similar thing happening in our tea sector. Tea pluckers, most of their children, now I think they are schooling. In good old days, they did not go to the school. So then the Mars company, what they did, they spent their own money to send these children into the school. This is how they treated the people, right? They said the child of coconut, the cocoa plucker should not be another cocoa plucker, right? That was the concern. So those are the large organizations, right? So there are so many the examples like that one, but I have only another 30 minutes to complete this. A little more than 30 minutes. And Starbucks, you have heard about the coffee manufacturer, Starbucks, right? You know, in USA, United States of America, the Starbucks companies, when their workers, children, right, wants to go for the higher studies, I cannot remember the name of that university, right? The Starbucks company, bears the 40% of the tuition. 40% goes there. Unlike Sri Lanka, in America, there are no free education, right? For their staff members, children, those who go for the university education, they bear 40% of the school fee. That is how they are treating for the people. We are not doing these things, right? So there are so many ways and means of treating people. Think towards the plant bottom line, the third one. The elements of environment. We learned that one. I'm re-displaying the same slide. Elements of the environment. The elements, what is over the Earth's surface, below the surface, and above those. Now, negative environment effects will come deterioration of the natural state of the health situation of any of the above. That is the negative environment impact. For example, as a result of you can see at the neighboring pond or neighboring reservoir, a lot of the fishes are getting died as a result, because you are diverting your wastewater to a pond. That will impact to the fauna. And sometimes in most of the road projects, they clear the land. That will damage the environment. And human beings, the good example is, right? You see that most of the road projects, by the side of the houses, if you see that one, or if you see the roofs of those houses, you can see the thickness of the dust layer, right? That will damage the health situation of the people, not even the neighboring, right? But also the workers, right? I have seen so many places, the laborers are drilling the rock for blasting. Have you seen anyone who wear the mask, right? Now they are doing not to protect their noses from the dust, to protect from the cold. The good example is when I started my engineering career in 1981, I worked in the Victoria project, right? Accelerated Mahaweli program. So my main job was blasting, rock blasting. Once in every 3 days, we blasted more than 1,000 holes, 1,000 to 1,500 hole blasting. Whenever I go there, right? Even being a young engineer, I couldn't stand that one because of this dust. Then I came to Kandy and I met one of my friend, my batchmate, parallel batchmate, was a medical officer. I told him, what can I do for that one? Then that person told me, you go to that pharmacy and ask for a surgical mask. Right now, this is a very common word. In 1981, I noted down that one in my diary. When I went to that pharmacy and asked, do you have surgical mask? Then he asked, are you a doctor? No. I said, I'm not a doctor. Doctor asked me to buy that one. He thought I am a person sent by a doctor. So he gave me some mask. I brought this one and I distributed among my drilling staff. Right? I said, please wear this one. So they wear those dust masks. When I turned back, I saw that one. They removed those things and put into their pockets. Whenever they see that I am coming, they used to wear that one. That was the story in 1981. After 20 years time, in 2001, right, I was engaged with one of the irrigation projects. There was a tunnel to be excavated, right? 1 kilometer tunnel. So it was a new exercise for the irrigation department, but I could remember when I was working with the Mahaweli, right? Under the State Development and Construction Corporation, SDNCC. So at that time, the general manager of SDNCC was one of my batchmates. So I talked to the general manager of SDNCC, and I got the same drilling crew arranged to excavate the 1 kilometer tunnel. And they were very happy to see me after 20 years. Even at that time, I could remember the name of my workers. The team leader was Jayatilaka. I asked Jayatilaka what happened to the other people. Then the sad story was, he said, both of his subordinates died with the lung cancer. These are the disasters, right? So think about this thing as engineers. But because of this COVID, at least workers are wearing face masks even to the chin, not to cover the nose. These are the actions to be taken by the engineers, right? So when you have any project, maybe civil engineering, maybe mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, right? We have faced a lot of similar such problems while erecting cables, right? Power cables, right? Your first priority to take all possible measures not to deteriorate the natural health situation of said elements. What are the elements? Fauna, flora, water, mineral, including human beings. But this is the ideal situation. No project can be to the environment. So therefore, this is rather ideal situation. So for the second priority, take measures to minimize the negative environment impact. Sometimes cost may be increased by 10%, but environment will be protected by 50%. Compare that. A good example is now these days under the Mahavali, there is a project, MWSIP, Mahavali Water Security Investment Program, funded by the Asian Development Bank. Right? In that project, the Upper Alhara Canal, which start from the Muragahakanda to the Habarana. Earlier plan was the canal trace was over the land. It passes through 3 wildlife sanctuaries: Alahara, Habara, Alahara, Bakamuna, and Minjeri. Wildlife Department protected that. If you provide a road, if you provide a canal, there should be a maintenance road. If a maintenance road is provided, that means we are opening access to the reserve. Then you know what is happening with our good politicians. Get protected that time. And ultimately, the Mahavali has to, instead of open canal, they had to go for a tunnel, 27.5 meter long tunnel. The cost was increased by three times. The third one is, if you can't do that one, take mitigation measures. Right? Now, you know that in Sri Lanka, right, if a road project is completed by cutting 1,000 trees, right, they are growing 3,000 trees, right, in various places. But who maintains those? No one maintains. Take another example. Every year, date of birth of the first citizen of the country day in this country, that was started by past president Jaya Jayawardena. Since the Jaya Jayawardena period to present period, every year our people planted millions of trees. Right? If all these millions of trees were grown, I think today you can't find a place to build a house. What has happened? Think about the bottom level, right? Who are the stakeholders contributing this tree plant campaign? Mostly school children. The teacher or the principal asks, my children, coming on the birthday of our first citizen, right? Bring from his home garden and put it into the plastic container with some soil. Bring it here, right? And plant it at the school ground. What was the thing happened? It's a translocation of the species. Earlier it was at the ground, is home garden. It was translocated to another location. Right? Number of trees were not added. Right? You count that at some other place. But if you left the plant for the self-growth at the home garden, that will, children will water it for 5-6 days, leaves to the bulls in that area. Right? What is the ultimate objective of tree planting campaign? They are destroying plants. Right? Think about these things as engineers. So these are the examples. And also, most of the engineering the personal protective equipment, PPs, not wear, right? Because this is environment requirement. Why it is called environment? Some engineers say this is a certain thing. Environment safeguard is to protect any of the which I explained in my last slide from the damages. The human being also an element of the environment. So therefore, to protect the human beings from the injuries, you have to provide PPEs, personal protective equipment, right? But they was inspecting. I asked the ladies who were not wearing gum boots, all male people, because my last employment was in the Asian Development Bank. I was the focal point for the natural resource development and environment, right? All the projects I looked after environment part. So when I went to one of the road projects, everyone knows that when I am coming. So even the previous days, they did not wear the personal protective equipment, because the ADB team is coming. Right? Even that, I found the ladies who are not wearing the gum boots. Then I asked one lady, why you are not wearing that? He gave me a very good answer. She gave me. She said, our purchasing manager, right, buys gum boots for the sizes of the male, right? Those are oversized for the female. When we put our legs into the gum boots, when we start walking, right, gum boot will not come with us. Right? But we are not wearing gum boots. Think about that, right? Then they said, right, this is why we cannot wear the gum boots. Now, it's your responsibility as engineers. There are so many these type of example. And have you heard about the toolbox meeting? Right? Now, always these people, those who are working, are the laborers. Skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled laborers. Their education background is very low. So therefore, in developed countries, they hold a toolbox meeting. Toolbox meeting is every day morning before start the work. One officer explained the importance of wearing PPE. Right? Then only they will do that. So, and another example is, right, in engineering projects funded by ADB, World Bank, JICA, OICA, the donor funded projects, it's an essential to make, because the main laborers, right, the contractors are bringing their permanent laborers to the site. They are from various places, right? The way of spreading HIV. So therefore, one of the things before start the project, the contractor and the consultant will have to hold a HIV awareness program, right? But nowadays you can't do that one because of this COVID-19. But I could remember in one of the ADB projects, the consultant was very much precise about holding this HIV program as well as the contractor. They gave a big announcement and organized a big campaign. They brought one of the medical officers and the PHI, a lot of things, and invited me also. I also first attended the HIV program. So when I asked what happened, then they said, sir, we had a huge campaign, but only the employees have come because we forced them to come. Then when I was working around that one, I just met one of the neighbor. He was looking at this program. I asked that one, why you are not participating? His answer was, sir, this program was organized for the HIV affected people. Because he thinks, right, we are holding HIV awareness program. If that person comes to attend the program, neighbor must think, my neighbor is affecting HIV, that's why he is going there. Every person thinks like that. Things are happening like that. What I did was, I said, I asked, organize another one, right? Then they said, if that time also the same thing happened, what would be the situation? Now, don't make your announcement for the HIV. Instead of the HIV, you hold a huge campaign for the anti-dengue. Then the people will come. So once the people came for the anti-dengue, first you explain HIV, then you explain anti-dengue. Now these are the tactics you have to use, right? By knowing the culture. Those are cultural barriers in our country, right? As engineers, go out of the well, go out of the box, think what is happening, what is to be done. That's why you must be a social leader. Once you interact with the social people, these type of things will come to your mind automatically. And another one, there was a reservoir in Vaunia, Peruara, right? Drinking water reservoir has to be built by removing 194 hectares inside the natural forest. EIA was carried out and we found 3 critically endangered species. Critically endangered species means they are almost vanishing from the world. In the Red Book, critically endangered means almost vanishing state. What the ADB did was, ADB temporarily suspended the project until the water board find a fair solution. The consultant would not find a fair solution. So then I was the environment specialist. What I suggest was, bring some buckets, catch all the species and translocate. Because these critically endangered species, 2 was land snail. One was the butterfly. We can't do butterfly, but others do land snail. So then I proposed. Then the environment specialist, the consultant environment specialist laugh at me. Yes, Bandar, are you going to take these buckets and pick up all this Golubello and Hangolo? I said, yes, I am an engineer. You are not an engineer. You are an environment specialist, but not an engineer. I am an environment specialist, but I am an engineer. We have done so much more difficulty than this. So I was supported by one of the professor in Colombo University, Professor Devaka Veerako. With the support with him, what we did was, in all 194 hectares, we removed, we collected, disregarding their conservation status, critically endangered or vulnerable, we disregarded them. Every single species we found, we translocated to a similar habitat. Not even that. After 1 year time, we conducted the survey to check their growth. These are engineers, right? Do this. Okay, there are so many the examples I have. There is only 15 minutes more. Let me come to the forum, but you think about yourself and find out examples, as much as examples when you are writing answer into the exam paper. Don't write the theories, right? You, as much as possible, your example. The last one is the gender equity, right? But gender equality. right? Not the gender equity. Gender equality, and there is another word called gender equity. There is a difference between that one. By explaining the difference between these two words, let me explain last few slides. Gender equality is equal opportunities. Gender equity means fair treatment to both male and female. The equity means you should not cut the cake 50 to male and 50 to female. You can take a fair decision, right? Not 25 to the male and 75 to the female, right? But equality means if you treat in a way to the male, you have to treat on the same manner into the female. That is equal opportunity. You can quantify it very easily. But gender equity is fair treatment to both male and female. But in our topic, we have to talk about gender equality, that equal opportunities. But just remember the difference between these two words. Actually, if you think about the history, this gender concept came to the world in 1948. The gender equality was made part of international human rights law by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the UN General Assembly 10 December 1948. Right? Almost 73 years back. The milestone document in the history of human rights says all human beings are born free. That is correct, no? You're all born free and equal dignity, right? And rights. And that everyone is entitled to all rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, birth, and interest. That is what it says. Equally treated to everyone. This is the history of that term. Then the gender equality. The United Nations is now focusing its global development work on the recent 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If you go to the Tumulla, you can see the UN headquarters. The wall, they have given 17 sustainable millennium. The UN General Assembly, they disclosed millennium 2015. From 2015 to 2030, they introduced Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. SDG 5 says, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Right? This is the little history about that. Then gender equality, right? Now, when you are talking about the Sri Lankan situation, right? Now, we have been facing a lot of difficulties, a lot of the hardships in foreign exchange these days. Right? Now, what are the main sources that we generate foreign exchange in this country? Right? There are two sectors. One is the formal sector, the other one is the informal sector. The formal sector, right? Main foreign exchange generators are the tea sector, coconut sector, rubber sector, the small, the species, right? That means the minor crops. Then the apparel industry, tea sector, coconut sector, rubber sector, minor crops, right? And there are certain other ornaments. Those are the main income generators in foreign exchange to the country. But out of all these things, what are the leading two sectors which generate highest foreign income in formal sector? The highest one was tea, but now it is garment factory, garment industry. Garment industry is the number 1. Tea is the number 2. This says the FAO 2021. So then you go to the informal sector. Informal sector is the income generated by foreign employees. Right? But if you analyze the highest income generator is from the informal sector. That's the job holders in the Middle East countries. Then International Labour Organization report, I got that. Highest foreign exchange generating sectors, informal and formal sector. If you take the informal sector, foreign jobs, what is the majority? 75% are female. They are going as housemaids or some house assistants in that. But that is the main foreign exchange generating sector in this country. Then go to the formal sector. Who are those? Garment factory, right? Apparel industry. 80% of the workers are female, but they are not executives. They are sieving machine operators. 75%. Take the tea plantation sector. 75% of the workers are female. Those are not estate managers. They are tea pluggers. Female tea pluggers. If you analyze main 3 foreign exchange generating industries, 75% are female, right? But the sad story, all these females are at the lowest rungs of the employment ladder. They are at the bottom level of the employment. Now, this is the sad situation of this country, right? We have been talking about the male. I'm also male. But think about that. Generators are contributed 75% of the jobs by female. It's okay. The sad story is they are holding the lowest ranks of the employment. As an engineer, can you help them? Right? I open the forum and discuss. Now, these are the gender situations. And with emerging economies, financing a family is expected by the contribution of working women and men both, right? If you ask your grandparents, right, during the grandparents period, only the male person works. They are the breadwinners. Breadwinner is the person who is bringing the income. Grandmother is in charge of domestic chores. She is in charge of household activities, looking after children, looking after elder parents, right? And looking after the cooking activities, everything, right? But nowadays, it has been changed, right? Now the working woman, females are also employed. Otherwise, they can't run their living business. But still, take the story of these garment factories, the performing domestic chores while taking care of children and elderly parents are key designated roles played by Asian women. In Europe, this is completely changed, right? But still in Asian countries, the women are designated for the domestic chores. But nowadays it has to be changed because both are working. At the workplace, both are getting gender equal. The garment factory ladies working as female machine operators. At the end of the day, they are fed up. Same thing repeatedly throughout the day and additional couple of hours. At the end of the day, they are physically exhausted and mentally stressed. That's the real situation. Now, when a physically exhausted and mentally stressed lady comes to home, he has to undertake the every activity of inside the house, cooking and preparing children, helping elder parents, all the rest activities he has to do. But inside our social life, the gender equality is not being maintained, especially in rural areas, urbanizing areas, right? But in urbanized areas, nowadays, wife and husband both are engineers or doctors, they come home and they get together and attend everything. But still, in urbanizing areas, the gender equality is not maintained inside their houses. Therefore, ultimately what will happen? The females performing work at workplace as males, right? That is the work life. And managing the rest of the daytime and managing the rest of the daytime to attend to domestic work, that is the non-work life. Normally we call work life to the factory life. Non-work life is the outside the factory life. Outside the factory life means their social life and their home life. It's a challenging task. And ultimately, that is ended up with the work to non-work conflicts, right? In urbanizing area, husband is also breadwinner, wife is also breadwinner. Both of them are coming at the end of the evening. But when they come to the home, the major work is undertaken by the ladies and ended with the work to non-work life conflicts. And ultimate result is they are fed up with the job and they leave. Now in Sri Lanka, right, if you take the industries, right, the highest labor turnover is indicated in the garment sector, reported in the garment sector. The garment sector means in the rural developing areas. Because President Premadasa, he established 150 garment factories in unurbanized areas. The concept was good. Then the money circulation is being increased in those areas. It's a part of the development. That's good. But the bad thing is this. Even the gender equality is maintained at the workplace, that is not maintained at the domestic work. So females' contribution towards domestic chores, that is non-work life, is significant than to men, despite female being employed. Thus, the working women are further tied up with more responsibilities in non-work life. Non-work life means once they came home. Evading non-work life responsibilities creates work to non-work life conflicts in the minds of repentant female employees. This reveals the disparity of cultural dimensions between corporate culture and social culture. Because the corporate culture at the business place, the equality is maintained, but that is not being maintained at the social. Right? Think about this. Now, this is what I can explain about the gender equality. Right? This is all about my presentation. Right? You can download the recording and go through these slides. You can find more details. Right? Because otherwise, this lecture, these 3 topics, if it happened me to explain these 3 topics, normally I will take 6 hours. Right? 6 to 8 hours. But I was asking in 2 hours. I should criticize that. But anyway, I did at my level best. So if you have any burning question, you can raise 1 or 2 before I wind up the session. There is another 5 minutes more. There are 52 participants, 53. So when myself and there are 2 from the ISL, when they were excluded, there are 50 participants. I don't know if you don't have any question, or I do not know whether everything is a question. I know that this is the Zoom session. Some participants, they own the Zoom session and they attend their own works. It's okay, right? Because I am not the person who is going to answer the question. If you don't have any significant question, I'm going to wind up the session. And thank you very much for listening to me. I wish you a good luck on 19th of December at your DJ. Thank you very much.